And now here we are back on my drive on a really nice day. It's warm and calm, ideal for spraying, and that's why I've just set up my new £20 spray tent, and I think it will be very helpful because today there's plenty of insects buzzing around in the air which we don't want in the paint. So I've already just done one coat of the 2K lacquer on the tank, which is in there, and so let's go around and see how it's getting on. And so there's a tank with the first coat of the 2K lacquer. Went quite well. Now this tent isn't particularly big, and it's something you can't stand in there at the same time as spraying. It's also quite light, so a gust of wind will blow it over. That's why I've got some paddock stands just at the back there, just to keep things from blowing away. So now I've got to wait about 20 minutes, and then I'll do a second coat. Now here we go with second coat. And so now with the second coat of 2K on the tank, it went quite well, although I did see a few tiny little spots of white dust falling in the lacquer. I'm not sure what that was. It's not an insect, it's too small. I wonder if it's some kind of just dust, some sort of plastic dust from this tent, because this is the first time I've opened it up, but we'll see. But I can sort that out when the lacquer's dried off. I can cut it back and use a bit of very fine sandpaper and remove those problems. And now here we are, it's the next day, and I've now painted 2 coats of the 2K lacquer over all the bodywork. So this can here I was using was just about enough to do 2 coats and no more. Luckily I've got some more cans, so that's great for later on. So next then, I need to apply the decal kit I've just ordered when it arrives, and once I've done that, I need to then spray on another 2 or 3 coats of 2K lacquer on top of the whole thing to protect the decal kit and to give a much better shine on the rest of the bodywork. Once that's done, I've then got to cut back the lacquer, and that's an awful lot of work. That means I've got to use very, very fine wet and dry sandpaper, something like 1500 or 3000 grade. And what that will do is smooth off the kind of orangey peel finish in the top coat. The good news is, after having put on maybe 5 or 6 coats of lacquer, the lacquer's thick enough to take that, so you can smooth off, you know, the little ripples without breaking through to the colour coat beneath, which would be an absolute disaster. So anyway, all that's for the future, so we'll continue this video when the decal kit arrives, and hopefully, fingers crossed, I won't make any mistakes applying that decal kit. And now, as you can see, the decals have arrived. So this is the decal for the tail section, and that's what I'll start with. But first, I've got to do something quite painful, which is to roughen up this area where the decal will live on the tail section. So I've got to use some fine wet and dry sandpaper. This is 1500. I'm doing that to give the decal something to grip to on the paintwork, because if it's too shiny it won't grip very well. So sadly I've got to go over this and very carefully roughen it up. So we start off by peeling off the back of the pinstripe, revealing the sticky side. This is the nerve-wracking bit where things can go very wrong, but needs must. There we go. Plenty of water on here, so I can slide it around, and hopefully this will work. Try not to handle it too much. So this needs to go something like that. Something like that. Is that central? As you can see, this is the first time I've ever done this, so we do expect the odd problem. I've got a little crease there, which I'm not happy with, but I'll worry about that in a minute. Right, so there's a start. You can see that. It didn't want to come off. Just got to gently remove any bubbles I can find. Right, so here we go. push me up. There we go. Now, there we go. Oh, well, this is a lot easier than the tail section, that's for sure. Oh, there we go. That actually was very, very good. A lot easier than I thought it would be. So there's one side done. Now, as you can see, I've got some light blue stripes here, and I've also got a gold line, and that's quite deliberate because I've got some other gold parts on the bike, such as the gold wheels, so that sort of reflects a little bit of gold in the paintwork. Phew, well, all that was quite stressful, but we got there in the end. And in fact, doing the tank wasn't as difficult as I was expecting, whereas I have made a mistake with the pinstripes on the tail section because I've got a crease right there, right where you can see it. So I've got to go away and find out ways of removing that crease before I lacquer both the tail section and the tank one more time. In fact, several times. It needs about 2 or 3 more coats. Once that's done, I can cut it back and polish it, and hopefully that's all the bodywork completed. I've also got a brand new fuel cap to fit to the tank, a brand new tap, and some brand new badges. Now, talking about the badges, the side panels don't need any pinstripes, so I've already lacquered the side panels an extra 2 or 3 times and polished them. I've also, as you can see, I've added the badge. And now here we are outside in the sunshine in my front garden. And that's because I've now given these parts another 3 coats of 2K lacquer. And 2K paints cure in the presence of ultraviolet light, and sunshine contains an awful lot of that. And that's why I've left these parts out here all afternoon. And hopefully by tea time, this paintwork should be nice and hard enough in fact, so I can then cut it back with some very, very fine 3000 grade wet and dry sandpaper, followed by rubbing compound, followed by cutting paste, followed by, at last, the final polish. Oh, and some good news, I did manage to remove the crease that was in the decal round about here. To do that, I used a cloth that had been soaked in hot water, pressed hard against the decal, and that seemed to do the job. And now here we are the next day, and I spent quite a few hours rubbing down the paintwork. So I started off by using this stuff, 3000 grade wet and dry, used with plenty of soap and water. Once that was done, I moved on to using this stuff, rubbing compound, which is quite abrasive. It's a bit like toothpaste. Once that was done, I moved on to using cutting polish. Now, cutting polish is similar to the rubbing compound, it's just got a finer abrasive in it. So at this point, I really should move on and give the bodywork a final polish. But I haven't done that yet because so far I haven't fitted the badges to the tank. And haven't done that yet because the special screws that I need, I ordered, 2 months ago, and they're still not here, so that'll just have to wait. So I think for the time being, I'm going to move this bodywork somewhere safe, and I won't fit it to the bike until the rest of the build is complete, because the last thing I want to do is risk scratching or damaging this beautiful paintwork while I'm working on the rest of the bike. And so that's it for now, and so thanks for watching, and cheers.